Ain't no half step on Marcus J. Live from the Den, Legacy Internet Radio. Thank y'all to everybody that's rocking with us tonight. We appreciate those folks that are rocking with us on our various Facebook Live feeds. We got about 3 of them that's going on right now. You got Big Bro Joe, you got Mr. 3375, you got our sister Ashley Joy and the First Lady, comedian that's Lissa P, all in the building with us tonight as we progress throughout the night. You're listening to the flagship show. 804-402-2893 is the number to dial to be a part of tonight's discussion, which will be focused around Alzheimer's and dementia. And it was a topic that we talked about as a crew that we decided that we wanted to share because we were finding that a lot of us are either directly or indirectly affected by loved ones and family members who are afflicted by the situation. And so we wanted to bring it to you. I can tell you that personally how I was affected. My grandmother, we lost her to it in 2003. We know Big Bro Joe has an aunt, maternal aunt, who is going through it now. So we'll have stories about that later on in the show. I have my mom on the show to kind of talk about how she dealt with my grandmother, and Big Bro Joe will share his experience dealing with his aunt. But before we get into that, we want to actually get some information on what Alzheimer's and dementia and what all of that is actually about. And so for now, at this time, we're going to kind of turn over to the First Lady Legacy and that radio comedian, that's Lissa P. She's got some information. We're going to go through the information that you have and see where we kind of shake out as we progress throughout the show. First Lady, why don't we kind of pick up right there? That's my bad. Why don't we pick up right there and kind of talk a little bit about the Alzheimer's and dementia? What you got?
Okay, first I want to shout out Miss Taya out in Vegas. Hey Taya, we appreciate you. You know I love you.
What's up, Taya?
Again, if anyone wants to call in and get in on the discussion, the number is 804-402-2893. Again, it's 804-402-2893. Now, again, as Marcus J was stating prior, actually, and it's so funny because I actually just told Big Bro Joe that my main focus kind of really was because of one of his family members, which he'll be able to talk about later. But I know that him and his family have been going through some things with his family member who is suffering with dementia. And I know that a lot of people, even outside, again, Big Bro Joe, and again, like Marcus J said, a lot of my family members that I know, and they know people who also suffer with this disease, because that is what it is. So basically, I just want to touch on some things. And again, if any of our listeners of our Legacy Internet Radio family is listening, and again, you have any questions or comments, or you want to correct any facts, please do, because just to let you know, none of us are professionals, but for what we go through, we are professionals in what we do. So again, Big Bro Joe, he is a professional because he has to take care of his family member who is suffering with this. Marcus J, he is a professional because his family member he had to deal with in a certain way for what he had to go through. So again, check our facts behind us. And again, if you can help us, please again call us at 804-402-2893.
Let me get a shout out in as the folks in Facebook Live check in. Our sister Laurel is checking in. She's saying peace to the fam. So peace to you too, Laurel, as well. She's sharing the Facebook Live feed because she wants everybody to be able to listen. First Lady, pick up. Okay,
so just to read some facts that I actually pulled. It actually states on here that dementia is a general term for a decline in mental ability severe enough to interfere with daily life. It says memory loss is an example. And it actually states that Alzheimer's is the most common type of dementia. So actually, dementia is not actually the disease. It's just a branch or, certain causes of different branches thereof. it actually talks about how for dementia that usually happens in the people or the ones in ages of 65 and older, but Alzheimer's that could affect people as early as their 30s, which that's something I actually did not know until I started, going through this. So I actually see some, hear some agreements in the room. Can any of y'all really quick, elaborate on as far as, did you all know that you can get Alzheimer's as early as 30?
I had heard about that. I know the basketball coach, Pat Summitt, and I don't remember how old she was, but I don't think she was that old. And I guess since that name just popped, I got it in front of me, big bro.
Okay.
I'll Google her, First Lady. But I know that I'm pretty sure she wasn't 65. And if she was either very close to it. I got it here on Google right now. We lost Pat Summitt last
June
summer.
28, 2016.
And she was 64 when we lost her.
Wow, okay.
And so...
But that had been going on for a while, though.
She had been dealing with Alzheimer's for a few years because she had to step down as the head coach of the Tennessee women's college basketball team a few years before that.
And same with if you guys know the quote unquote Black Martha Stewart, Miss B. Smith, she also suffered from Alzheimer's, and she's not old either.
I didn't know.
You can look.
Wow.
Okay.
I looked it up because they said that Pat Summitt actually, she was diagnosed in 2011.
So that was 5 years before she passed. So that would have made her 59.
Yeah.
So
well, that's when she was diagnosed.
So who knows how long she had been dealing with it.
Potentially been going on longer than that.
So B. Smith, I'm Googling B. Smith now. Actually, I do remember her. She's 67 years old.
And wow, I didn't know that. Okay.
And so she just, came out, her and her husband, just a couple years ago, saying that she was struggling with Alzheimer's, but she just came out and exposed that because she had to stop her. She had a TV show. She had restaurants that she decided to close down.
Wow,
because her Alzheimer's.
Which one is that? That ain't Sweetie Pie.
Well, no, that's not Sweetie Pies. But I'm actually, I'm intrigued by those two names, First Lady, because it speaks to the median age that you mentioned, 65. Pat Summitt being 59, basically, when we know that she was diagnosed. And I remember B. Smith when she was diagnosed. It was just a couple of years ago, and she's 67 now. So you were right on the money with that time frame.
And also going into that, they usually say that dementia is caused by the damage to the brain cells. So it says this damage interferes with the ability of the brain cells to communicate with each other. It says when brain cells cannot communicate normally, thinking, behavior, and feelings can be affected. So a lot of some other symptoms they also say again is memory, issues with the memory, communication and language, the ability to focus and pay attention, reasoning and judgment, and also visual perception. It interferes with you in a lot of ways. Also, it says that the reason why Alzheimer's and again dementia are all mixed in basically with the memory loss part is the frontal part of our brain. I'll spell it first. It is spelled HIPPOCAMPUS. Now it looks like hippocampus, but it's pronounced hippocampus. Okay, and hippocampus is, again, the communication basically center in the frontal lobe of our brains. And those are usually the cells that get damaged first when it comes to, the Alzheimer's and dementia, which comes down to the memory loss. So, again, when you have these people affected by these things, these are some of the signs that you can look for. Now, Marcus J., I know you said you had your... What relative?
My nana.
Your nana. Now, did you notice anything? How old were you were you at a old enough age to understand that something was wrong or that she was different?
Yeah, I and I'm going to interview Mom about this, but I want to share my own. I want to share my own
just
story.
a little bit. Okay.
I was I lost her. We lost her when I was 28, and far as I know, it's certainly a few years that she was suffering with this. I remember a story. We were in Virginia Beach, and she had this piece of jewelry that my grandfather had left with her, and after he passed. And my grandmother was very, very clear about love for her family, and quite frankly, I was our favorite. I think if you would ask her or any of my siblings or my cousins, they would tell you. Not boosting myself up, but that's just reality. I was her favorite. And when she couldn't find this piece of jewelry, she turned into somebody who I had never seen before. Mm-hmm. She was angry. She was frustrated. And she was feisty. And I had never, ever, ever in my life ever saw her like that. Every time I had ever seen her, she was always very warm and she was Big Mama.
Right.
She was Big Mama.
Right.
You know? And she was even feisty with me. So for her to be feisty with me, I knew that there was something going on. Now, I had known from my mom that there was stuff that was different. But she was in New Jersey, and I was here in Virginia, and it was easy for me to be detached from that. As cold as that may sound, it was easy for me to be detached from that because I wasn't there. I wasn't there seeing that every day and dealing with it every day. But that one time when they were here and I was able to have that experience, it became real for me, and it was scary. Okay. Because I'd never seen her that way. And just to put a bow on the story, it was a piece of jewelry that we literally tore up the hotel room looking for. My aunt, my mother's sister, said, you know what, y'all roll out, I got her. We'll figure it out. When we found that piece of jewelry, y'all want to know where it was?
She had it?
In her pocket.
Yep.
On her person.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was in her pocket on her person. The only place that none of us thought to look.
Well, you know what? That's funny that you make that statement because technically, and this is just some of the terms that you will learn during dealing with dementia and Alzheimer's, it's called a fixation. Mm-hmm. And when you have certain issues, or when you are a person with dementia or Alzheimer's, you become fixated on specific things or specific items and things of that nature. And the way it was explained to me by a clinical psychologist is that it's your brain trying to focus and stay in the reality of something that you knew very personally.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And, you know, like you said, I mean, I understand how Marcus J feels because it's difficult to think of the people that we have in those lights. But you have to do a lot of things. You have to be very, very mentally prepared and tough. And I don't care how strong you are.
Right.
It'll break you.
It'll break you.
Yes. and actually, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Ashley.
I was say I also dealt with that too in my family. My uncle had Alzheimer's and my aunt had dementia. They wouldn't diagnose her with Alzheimer's, but to me it was the same thing. They were both very physically aggressive. Yes. As the disease started to progress. Mm-hmm. They both completely forgot everything, which can kind of completely forgot everyone, which sometimes can be like a boost, like a blow to your soul, because you know, one day this person knows you and you chilling and jobbing, and the next day they have no clue on who you are, right. Or maybe there's only one person in the family that they remember, and I'm like, well, why you remember him? You don't remember me, and me and you spend most of the time together, so you must have liked him more. Mm-hmm. And so you thinking, and it's not that,
and it's hard. It's hard to not make it about you.
And put your own self in a state.
Yeah, we're getting a couple of hits on social media. Our sister Laurel, she's sad to hear about B. Smith. She didn't know. She said she loves her. We know our sister Laurel, the Blissed Out chef. So with her, B. Smith being who she is, I'm sure she's familiar. So yeah, unfortunately, Laurel, that's something that our sister B. Smith deals with. And then our sister, longtime listener, Michelle K., says, yes, B. Smith and her husband wrote a book about how they deal with the condition. I just thought about this. I got another family member, and anybody that knows me knows, and I won't shout her name out to put her business out, but longtime listeners and people who know me personally know that as a youth, my family spent a lot of time at a particular aunt's house. My aunt, who pretty much raised the family and babysat everybody. So if you're a long-time listener, you know who that is. I won't shout her out, but she's dealing with it as well. And the last time I saw her was, I guess, the summer of, what are we in, 16, 17? So summer of 15, last time I saw her. And the last time I saw her before that was maybe 2 or 3 years prior. And the 2 or 3 years prior, she knew who I was. Me and K-Dub went to visit her, and we was chilling, and it was great. And when I saw her in 15, just a couple years later, she was giving me the evil eye, like, who the hell are you?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And she's not very verbal and communicative any longer. And so that's another example, First Lady, of how it may manifest itself.
Right.
Some folks wild out, get violent, want to fight, and some folks regress inside their own heads. Ain't no half stepping with Marcus J, live from the Den, Legacy Internet Radio. I want to introduce our new participant to our conversation and discussion. Joining us on the second Monday of every single month, my sister and friend, Miss Tony's up in this joint. What's up, yo?
How y'all doing?
We chilling.
All
How you
right.
doing?
I'm fine. I'm sorry for being tardy.
It's all right. We won't hold it against you. It's a dope ass hat,
This
though.
time.
Thank you.
Yeah,
My coworker made it for me.
For real? Do we like them?
Yes.
All right, well, tell them to make one for me. I want it to be black, and I want it to have a ball on the top, and I want the ball to be pink. Can you make that happen for me?
I probably can
All
for
right,
a price.
We're gonna. I mean, we'll
For a
figure it.
price.
We'll figure it out. We'll figure it
Everything
out.
for a price.
Hashtag with Marcus J, First Lady, and crew. We're getting a question from our sister Laurel in Facebook Live. She's saying that when did it become more recognized? When she grew up, she didn't know the difference. I don't know that we have any specific dates and times on when it became more recognized, First Lady. I don't know if you have that information. If you do, share it. If not,
I think one of the things that I read up onto is I know Big Bro Joe might have more information, but I guess if you remember back in the day, if some of your grandparents used to use the word senile,
Yep.
that if you can remember that far back, Laurel, us country folks, that's what our people say, my bad. But, so that was before 78. So, again, Big Bro Joe, do you have an actual
I actually
date
do. I have
or
a
anything?
date. I have a date where it was actually termed.
Okay.
I'm getting this from where I went through Google, and it's a doctor. I'm glad you said senile. Doctors have used the term senile for dementia for decades. Senile means old, but when was dementia first discovered? It was discovered by Dr. Alois Alzheimer. Presented a paper. Yeah, that's his name, Alois.
And that's
In 1906.
1906.
So you think about all of those folks when they say senile and they
Right.
crazy, and they took them to the sanatoriums, and they would
Yeah.
they would take the plugs out of their brains, out of their skulls to relieve the pressure because they thought that they were releasing whatever. I mean, it's crazy.
Lobotomy.
Lobotomy. Yeah, that's a lobotomy. Yeah.
That's our brother Solo in the back. Give me
Shout out to
us
All Throttle. Shout out to All Throttle Radio back there.
No doubt. But yeah, that's when that was. 1906 is what we have for the actual term date
Right.
of that by Dr. Alois Alzheimer.
I was going to ask you to reiterate that, brother. Does it give born and death date for that person?
It does
I don't
not.
know if that's on the meme that
have
was
it.
posted earlier today.
I can look.
It's cool if it doesn't. I'm just curious. 1906 is when but his name is Alzheimer. So
Yeah,
I
his name
guess-
is Alzheimer's.
So we basically named the affliction, or I don't even know what we're supposed to call it. Affliction,
It's a mental.
disease,
It's a mental.
disorder.
Yeah, it was 19. Well, it says what?
1864
1894.
to
1864.
1915.
Okay,
Okay.
yeah, a German neuropathologist.
Yep.
Okay.
A neuropathologist.
Okay.
Okay.
I mean, it was crazy. I mean, you think about those things.
And then, it's funny, he died young, so I wonder if he had some sort of affliction himself.
He might
But
have.
they also say that another kind of dementia, again with Alzheimer's being the most common, is vascular dementia, and that usually happens after someone has a stroke. So
Yeah.
if that's another also again second common type.
Does that the stroke, I guess, triggers the Alzheimer's?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Also, it tells us that brain injuries, like if you're in an accident,
Yes. Trauma
that
as
can
well.
trauma to the brain can
Yes.
trigger Alzheimer's and dementia.
Injuries and sports.
Right.
As can
Injuries and sports.
And sports, yeah. Hence the movie with
Concussion.
Concussion. Yeah.
But also boxing
Yeah.
and,
long-term drug use can
Yeah,
as
they're gonna say
well.
medications as well and alcohol use.
Hey, what's up? It's Sola.
yeah.
It's something about the left side that causes that, because when people have strokes, it's usually on the left side that goes down, the mouth drools, the eyes sag. My grandmother went through it. That's why I'm sitting back here quiet.
No, I can dig it, and I appreciate you, Solo.
yeah.
Appreciate you, Solo, representing All Throttle Radio on Thursday nights, 7 p.m. until on Legacy Internet Radio. You got a mic, so if you feel like you need to get in, you got it. Just give us a signal that you want to jump in. You can jump in. And you know how to step on Marcus J live from the Den Legacy Internet Radio. We're talking about dementia and Alzheimer's. If you want to be a part of the discussion tonight, 804-402-2893 is the number to dial to call us up and be a part of the discussion. First Lady.
And also, once we get to, the end of the show, we do have a 24-hour hotline for any caregivers or anyone who may need help. And again, throughout this, I do have some things where it talks about the early, middle, and late stages of dementia and Alzheimer's. So the things that you can expect, again, if you're a caregiver. And again, if all of this does not resonate with you tonight, then again, we have an 800 number for you all to call. It is 24 hours. They do also have a website as well, so we'll make sure that we get that information to you.
Our sister Taya is jumping in, First Lady, and she says
Hey,
that
Taya.
she says that it seems like so many more now are maybe people just more talking about it more. She's got a friend that's a boxer that's in their 50s that's dealing with it. So that kind of speaks to a couple of things you said, First Lady. One, about how we have more information and how we can define it, and we're not just calling it senile anymore. We can actually say maybe this person is dealing with it. And then when you talk, Big Bro, about how there were injuries, of course we know about boxing, and now
Muhammad Ali.
we know that's what he had, Parkinson's. But the Parkinson's that he had, there are some folks that are saying that was exasperated by the heavy blows that he took to his head.
Yes. And that is under the umbrella of dementia as well.
Because that's
Parkinson's
disease.
Parkinson's,
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
It's actually called subcortical dementia.
Yes.
Really?
Mhm.
Okay, I did not know that. Now
Yeah.
that's interesting, because you have someone, you talked earlier, First Lady, about the age. We know that one of many of our favorite actors in the world, Michael J. Fox, of Family Ties and Back to the Future and Teen Wolf, and look up your favorite Michael J. Fox movie or TV show. Spin City, he actually was one who was diagnosed young. He's only a few years older than we are. I think he might be in his early 50s or late 40s, early 50s now.
Right.
And I honestly, as crazy it may sound, I don't think that I have that many memories of him in recent years not having Parkinson's. I remember the Back to the Future days, which were in the mid to late 80s and the early 90s when he was really hot. But by the time he got to Spin City in the 90s, he had Parkinson's, which would have meant, if my math is right, that had him in his 30s.
Yeah. Then he made that comeback. About 5 years ago.
He's on the TV show. It's defunct now, but The Good Wife, he was on there, and his character was a character who used to make light of the fact that he had Parkinson's, and he used to use it in court. To his advantage. So I bring him up to say that he was young. He was in his 30s.
If I could be a little honest with y'all, sometimes I think that I might be coming down with something.
I was
like that.
just getting ready to say, I
look at my mother.
Is it hereditary?
It can be
It
hereditary.
is. It can be.
I look at my mom,
Right.
and I see sometimes she checks in and out, and I look at myself, and I know sometimes I check in and out. And there was this incident, if y'all don't mind me sharing, I was at my parents' house, and I think I was washing dishes or something, and the pipe under the sink burst. Water starts rushing out. And I remember my brain just shutting off. And I just stood there. And then my mother comes in, and she goes under the thing, turns the thing on, puts a bucket down, and then she comes up and she says to me from under the sink, and she's wet, and she comes up to me and she says, Ashley, whenever water is coming from under the pipes in the sink, put a bucket there to catch the water. And it's after she said that I kind of snapped back into my space. I wish that you guys were there because I was an adult, okay? She's not talking to a child. She's talking to somebody who's 30 years old. At the time I was 30, I'm 32 now. And it was her talking to somebody in a way that she kind of knew sometimes my daughter's brain turns off and on.
Right.
And she has made comments too. She's like, Ashley, sometimes our brains turn off and on. And over the years, you saying that, at first you're thinking it's a joke, but then when you get older, it's like, well, hold up. So that's why. So I'm hearing about this show. I'm like, well, dang. Yeah. How do you know if it's something that you have?
And actually, I was getting into that, and they said you actually can. There is no test to determine, if you have dementia.
Well, I disagree.
I was gonna say because I disagree. I've actually gone through testing myself.
Okay.
Let me get a shout out on social media. Our brother Hakeem in Jersey is checking in. He's saying what's up to the crew. 502 baby all day, every day. That's his shout out to our fam here on Legacy Internet Radio. So, First Lady, you're saying that there wasn't a test, but then Big Bro Joe and Tony is disputing that.
Right,
so what
and then there was a story that I was going to read later that actually said that a woman had her husband have a PET and a CT scan that determined that he did have early onset. So, yes, please elaborate, yeah. Tony.
Well,
yeah,
you want to get that? No.
My story is a little longer.
No, yeah, go Tony. Yeah.
Well, for me, and I'm sure I was actually looking up to see if I could find an article supported. Any woman who has had a child, you hear the term mommy brain. And it kind of sets in like when you're pregnant, it's like you forget little things. It's, I forgot to turn the stove off or whatever.
Right.
But after you have your child, it gets worse. And any woman that you talk to, that has had children, she'll tell you after you have a child, your memory gets worse. Mm-hmm. For me, I guess it's been about 8 years ago now, I suffer from migraines, mm-hmm. chronic migraines. Mm-hmm. And I got to the point where I felt like I was losing my memory. Mm-hmm. Just basic everyday things. So my neurologist referred me to a neuropsychologist, and I did what's called neuropsychological testing. Yep. And it's a battery of tests that's kind of like, things like, they'll lay like certain numbers in front of you, and then they take them away, and you have to put the order back, or certain objects. They'll ask you, what object was in space number 1. So I did those tests, and the doctor said, your memory is fantastic, but I have a photographic memory.
Right.
So, but even over time, like I can tell the differences, and I can tell the difference in my memory, but I still have my photographic memory.
Okay.
So I don't know if as dementia sets in, if that's affected, because I do, like I can look at something, if I need to remember something, I can remember where it was on the page. I can remember, this item was up here on the 3rd row, but I can't tell you what I had for lunch today.
Ain't no half step on Marcus J live from the Den. Legacy Internet Radio. A couple of shout outs that I need to get in. My baby sister's checking us in on Facebook Live. Peace to my baby sis, y'all. What up, Net? Love you. Kiss my babies for me. Shout out to our brother Gene is checking us out. He's saying peace to everybody. Our sister Taya actually had a cool comment here, First Lady. She is referring to Ashley's comment a few minutes ago about how sometimes, or that one time that her brain shut down. She said to tell her to Google the supplements and exercise to help avoid it. It may work. We have to fight. She admires her for being able to speak on it. She also mentions omega-3 and 10 B vitamins, and to walk every day.
And Taya, she's out in Vegas, so yeah. So I had to have Ashley out there, so she could sell her candles with you, Taya. Make sure we got you.
Yes, sir.
I found an article on the Huffington Post about mommy brain.
Okay.
And it does state that lack of sleep, which is the most common thing that you face when you have a new baby. that can affect your memory short term, but also increased steroid hormones are produced after you have a child, because your body is more in that whole I have to look out for this little creature. So the increase of cortisol in your body actually has a negative effect on your cognitive abilities.
Wow. Okay.
So
just to piggyback off of what we were just talking about, there's a couple of facts that I want to put out there. It gives us about 5 to 8% of adults over the age of 65 have some form of dementia.
5 to 8?
5 to 8%.
5 to 8%.
Of all adults over the age of 65 have some form of dementia.
Yes.
And it also states that the percentages double every 5 years after the age of 65, which means as many as half of the people, half of the populace by the age of 80 has some form of dementia.
Man, that's scary.
And can I just say really quick that God willing, my grandmother will be 101 in April. So just know the things. And again, it's getting back to what Tony said. My grandmother can tell me almost everything that happened in her childhood, but she cannot tell me what she ate earlier.
Oh, yeah.
Right. That's what I was getting ready to ask, because I know my aunt, she passed 2 years ago. She was 106. But like you said, she remembers everything from 85 years ago, but couldn't remember anything from now.
One thing you notice, and hi guys, it's Neek.
Hey.
What's up,
Coming in
Nick?
late on the subject, but one thing you notice, I had an uncle that passed away last year from Alzheimer's. One thing we noticed very early was that he was forgetting the simple things, like he would put his keys in the refrigerator while he was getting a glass of water. He couldn't remember where he put his shoes, and the shoes would be on the other side of the bed where he always would have them. He was in transportation, and one particular day he had gone to work, normal routine things. He could do the normal routine things. But if at any point that routine had any change, any deviation in it at all, so say for example, he drove a bus part-time or half of the day. If he had to fill in for a route for someone else and he was not familiar with that route, he would get lost. If he was going to a mall, and if he was going to a specific store and got diverted somehow and ended up in a different store, he wouldn't know how to get out of the store. So we would lose him in the mall. We would lose him while traveling, things of that nature. And he could tell you, I was going to do this, this, and this, but he couldn't tell you how to get there, if that makes sense.
It makes total sense, because it speaks to the comment that Laurel just put in here. Exactly what you just said, that you couldn't possibly know that she just said. She says, okay, so I have good long-term memory, but ask me where I put the parsley in the walk-in yesterday. A lot of people have good, another comment came in and threw me off. Hold on a second. A lot of people have good long-term but struggle with short-term. It's that short-term memory.
It's that short-term.
Because it's your frontal lobe.
It's that short-term memory. And then Taya comes back and she says people become less active because they lack the omega-3 and CQ10. They don't sleep. What she's noticed, they active, sleep 8 hours. She's seen people on drugs who don't sleep. Young people forget with lack of vitamins and sleep. So that's her comment. 804-402-2893 is the number to dial. You're listening to the flagship show of Legacy Internet Radio. We're talking about dementia, Alzheimer's, and we're having a good discussion about how first of all, what the definition is and how some folks are affected by it. Later on in the show, we're going to have a couple of very, very specific examples from my mom as well as from Big Bro Joe. Ain't no half stepping with Marcus J. First Lady, do you have any more?
And to piggyback again on what Tony was saying, some of the things that could cause dementia, or bring it on is depression, medication side effects, excess use of alcohol, thyroid problems, and vitamin deficiencies. So that is a few things there. And also, I have when I was talking about as far as Alzheimer's and you're able to get it at an early age, there was a letter that I pulled up about a lady who got married to her husband, and she actually told a story, and his name is Ken, and she, I won't read all of it, but just a little pieces of it, it says that again, that one time he called home from a local store because he didn't remember how to get back home. She said another time that he went to pick up the kids and ended up going in the completely opposite direction. She said he was getting headaches and he started forgetting things at work. It said eventually that it led to him losing his job. She said that they did go to his primary care doctor and that the doctor suggested that it may be depression. She said that her husband told the doctor that he did not feel depressed, but the doctor put him on antidepressants anyway. She said that the symptoms didn't go away after 7 to 8 months. She was really starting to get, fed up and frustrated like anybody would be. And just to let all the caregivers know out there, if you're frustrated, it's understandable because
Amen.
This is something that's very devastating and very life-changing, not only for that person going through this, but for you who have to take care of them. And again, some people feel like if you have to, and it sounds bad when you say put them away, it feels like, again, you're giving them away. And that's not always the case because, again, if you can't look out for you or if it's just you, what are both of you all going to do, if you're down? So, again, just putting that out there really quick before we get to, again, the caregivers, because I know we have some listening, again, on Ain't No Half Stepping with Marcus J. Again, call in 804-402-2893.
I'm glad you made that point, Listen P.
Yeah,
I'm so glad you made that
I'm
point.
weak right now that you made that point.
I'm so glad because it takes a lot.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And people don't realize how much it
Yes.
takes to care for somebody in a diminutive state.
Yeah.
Right, because they become violent too.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
a doctor put it to our family best. When you're so used to being independent and your mind is still a good mind, but it's like there's this wall up and you can't figure out how to get past this wall. So think about someone with a stroke.
Right.
They can't communicate because things have been affected by the stroke because that side of their brain has been damaged.
Right.
So they can't communicate, but their body still wants to react.
Yeah. Right.
Same thing with Alzheimer's and dementia. They know, but
Right.
they can't remember how to do it.
Right.
So they
Right.
get frustrated, angry, and they become violent too. And we had to put my uncle away, for lack of better terms, away.
Yeah.
But yeah, their facilities, good facility,
And just to give you that one,
in a nursing home or
Yeah.
facility that actually, and you have to look for the facilities that actually specialize in dementia and
called
Alzheimer's
memory
and
care.
those type of memory care facilities. Because you just can't put them in a regular nursing home. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
and I'm gonna just piggyback one more thing, and I know
Sure.
you got a lot to get into.
No,
It's just
no,
such a deep,
no,
it's
go
just a
ahead.
deep
Yeah.
personal topic
Oh,
for me.
yeah, go ahead.
Seeing it every day,
Yes, yeah. I'm telling you, you were my inspiration. So,
you
yeah.
can't feel bad. And I know it sounds harsh, but I love my aunt. I love her. She helped raise me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And for you to feel that you're giving them away,
Yeah.
like you said, you cannot
That's
feel
tough.
that way, folks. If you're a caregiver,
Yeah.
unless you, and you know what? I because I've heard people say, "Oh, I will never do."
Yeah.
Please, ladies and gentlemen, if you're listening to the sound of my voice, do not sit there and say what you will never, ever do.
Right.
Because there will become a time where you're not adequately and able to keep up with the needs of that person.
Yeah.
And you're doing them a disservice.
Right.
By holding on to them.
By holding on to them and to not getting them the right care that
Right.
they need.
And again,
Also, if I can piggyback off that, also it can be your own safety too.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
speaking of my uncle who had
You will forget that they
Alzheimer's,
have dementia
just off
and
the
Alzheimer's.
strength of a man and a woman who is more stronger than my uncle being stronger than my aunt. I mean, he gave her a black eye. Now,
Oh,
this
yeah.
is a person who would never hit a woman, let alone his wife. But then when he started having Alzheimer's and it really started setting in, he would, he could beat her up. So it's like, at this point, I cannot, in her words, I cannot care for you because you could really harm me.
Yeah, you gotta
And
be
they
careful,
both
'cause you
were
don't
of
know.
age. So, when you're giving somebody who's in their 60s a black eye,
It's scary.
I mean, you know what I
That's
mean?
real
It's
scary.
like,
and they're strong.
you know what I mean?
Yeah,
And
they're
that's what I'm saying. So it's like, it's for that person, but also sometimes for your own safety.
Yep.
And I'm saying this because I was that person that was like, well, I would never, put my family member in a home or anything like that. But I'm like, okay, well, this person is aggressive. I mean, we got a real
love you, but you got to go.
You have to,
Yes.
Right, and just kind of, actually touching on what you said, Joe, Tony, and Neek, it goes further to say that she took her husband to a neurologist after, his primary care doctor tried to diagnose him with depression, and they did the PET scan and CT scan, and it determined that he did have an early onset of Alzheimer's, and that was a week before his 30th birthday. So he actually diagnosed at the age of 29.
Wow.
She said as that went on, things started to get worse. He started to wander off to the point that they had to get the police to go locate him. She said he had got to the point where he would lose his car, that he had rages, as that you all spoke of, and she basically just said nothing could prepare you every day for as that life begins. Once the beginning stages, because it's, again, there is no cure for it, unfortunately, to slow it down or stop it. So, it just get progressively worse.
Well, and you know what? That's funny too, because there are some medications that will slow it down. There are no cures.
Right, no cure, but
there are some medications that are prescribed to help with your cognitive, and what it does is it helps enhance your cognitive skills. I mean, like I said, we deal with certain things, and you know what? But we have to be careful with those medications as well, right? Because they can sometimes they let me know. Like when I'm dealing with my aunt, and they tell me that, well, we can do this, but if we do this, then this could affect this. You have to weigh out what it is you actually are trying to get out of what's going on. Yep.
I can dig it. It's a lot that we dealt with. It's a lot that we talked about. And I think, First Lady, it's time to get some caregivers' firsthand experiences. What do you think?
Yeah.
All right. We're gonna take a break. And when we come back, we're going to have my mom on the phone. My mom's Jay, is going to share her experience in dealing with my Nana, her mother. And we're going to talk about that, and then after that we're going to have Big Bro Joe. He just alluded to his experience dealing with his aunt who helped raise him. He's going to talk about that as well. First Lady, you had something? And
yeah, I think I just want to go ahead and put the 24-hour hotline number out there now, just for everyone who's listening. So again, this is the 24-hour, 24/7 hotline for the Alzheimer and Dementia Caregiver Center. So again, if you want to talk to anyone, if you again need any advice, if you're thinking about placing your loved one in a facility where they can get the special care, and again, going off of what the fella said, you can't feel bad because you're not a professional. If that's not what your career is in, to go and help people that suffer with mental illness, you cannot punish yourself. You feel a certain way because it's your loved one and you don't want them to be in that condition. But again, you have to realize that's not your profession. And again, if it was, you would be fine. You would be sitting at home fine doing what you need to do. But it's not. So again, for the 24/7 hotline, 24/7 for the Dementia and Alzheimer's Caregiver Center, the number is 800-272-3900. And again, this is for information, education, referral, and support. It's the Alzheimer's and Dementia Caregiver Center. Their helpline number is 800-272-3900.
Ain't no half-step on Marcus J, live from the den. Legacy Internet Radio. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, we will have my mom on the show. She's going to talk to you guys and us about how she dealt with my Nana, her mom, and as a caregiver. So I'm interested in having you guys hear that. Some stuff I know, some stuff I don't know. When I talked to her to get her ready for the conversation tonight, I specifically told her, don't give me nothing. Give it to me raw and give it to me live. And we're going to have that on the other side of this break. You're listening to the flagship show of Legacy Internet Radio. We're talking about Alzheimer's and dementia. The show is called Ain't No Half Step on Marcus J. I can't do it without my crew and you. We will be back in a few.
Holistic care for the mind, body, and spirit. Free Spirit Enterprises, LLC is a parent company for Organic Creations, Jewelry by Design, Miller Publishing, and Consultation Services. Organic Creations offers you the best in natural, homemade skin and hair care products. Jewelry by Design allows you, the customer, to design your own jewelry as it is custom made just for you. Thinking of self-publishing a book or novel? Check out Miller Publishing and Consultation Services. Free Spirit Enterprises is where holistic care meets mind, body, and spirit. Visit us at freespiritenterprisesco.biz. That's FRESPIRITENTERPRISESCO.biz. Or you can call 804-252-6562. Like us on Facebook under Free Spirit Enterprises, LLC.
Hey, this is Warren Ballantyne, the number one truth writer in America, and I'm listening to my man, my brother, Marcus J, right here on Legacy Internet Radio.